and welcome to Center Ice Cardcast, your one-stop podcast shop for all things hockey cards. My name is Eric Andrews, also known in the hobby as Hammerhawks, and I'm joined by my co-host and fellow hobbyist Aaron Goldstein, better known as Crease Collector. He is back. Welcome back, Aaron.
I'm back. The last episode was fun to listen to, but man, it's good to be back. And I'm excited for this episode. Number 40, you're so close to 50. So if you're like turning 50, it's not so good, but as a podcast, man, I can't wait for episode 50. So we're getting there.
That's true. So starting things off for episode 40, I'm sure you guys are probably already aware of the news by now, but we just wanted to honor the late Tony Esposito, as he was truly a legend of the sport and the goaltending position in particular, of course. So, I think when you think of Tony Esposito, some different things certainly come to mind, and I'm sure for you guys as well, but also for each of us. So, Aaron, what comes to mind for you when you think about Tony Esposito, both as the player and the goalie and in terms of the hobby?
For me, it would be just like a Blackhawks legend. Like that's the first thing that comes to my mind when someone says Tony Esposito. As far as the hobby goes, I mean, as a Blackhawks player, just all those cool patches and stuff like that he could get on cards. I know you have quite a few of his cards as well. So seeing your pickups for, on the Espo side of things was always really cool. Yeah, just for me, I think Blackhawks legend. And obviously him and his brother, just what they did in the game of hockey was very hard to replicate for sure. So yeah, definitely a emotional time for a lot of people in various ways. But yeah, just a legend of the sport and of the position for sure.
For sure. And I'm sure a lot of people might remember the episode where we talked about it, but you have kind of a little bit of a unique connection in the hobby with Tony Esposito with one of your Enroth cards.
Yeah, no, I do. In the funnest way possible, no disrespect to Tony Esposito, obviously, but he's been someone that has kind of indirectly followed me around a little bit. And I do have, thanks to Eric, a bunch of his cards now that you sent me quite a few months back, actually dating back to last year, I believe. So that was a fun little gift. So I am the owner of quite a few of his cards, actually. And yeah, so for those who don't know, back to our White Whale episodes, one of my longest standing chases for a card was the 10-11 Masked Man gold version out of 10 of Jonas Enroth. And so this one collector who had one would only accept Tony Esposito in return. So that was, I believe it was over a year long of chasing this card and just no dice, because he collected Tony Esposito so hard he would only take his cards in return. And so yeah, like that's what was my first, I guess, hobby experience with Tony Esposito, and one of his collectors. So we eventually did get a deal done like a year after that interaction. So pretty funny story there. If you want the full story, the more exaggerated story, go back to episode 6, I believe it was, and see our White Whale episode to get the full story on that.
For sure, yeah, and that was obviously a really, really good and entertaining episode as well. So, go for that story, but stay for the rest, because it really was an awesome episode, start to finish. So that's cool to hear, your thoughts of Tony, not only as a player, but also in the hobby. For me, there's a lot of things that come to mind when I think about him. Obviously on the ice, he was arguably as innovative a goalie as there ever was. He was known for trying all kinds of equipment hacks, to gain an edge in the net, as well as, his iconic goalie mask, of course, as well. I'm sure you guys probably know some of the stories of the things that Tony would try to do, but I mean, there were just so many things. He was always working with his equipment, trying to make things bigger, trying to, do this, do that, to get whatever type of edge that he could get to stop more pucks. So, maybe if you have some free time, Google some of those stories, and I'm sure you guys will get a good laugh out of some of the stuff that he tried doing, because it was entertaining for sure to see whatever he would do. And of course, being a Blackhawks fan myself, he's, obviously a beloved franchise icon and certainly among the best goalies that the Blackhawks have ever had, like Aaron said. In terms of the hobby, he actually kind of stands out to me because one of, if not my first ever higher end card in my collection, was of him. My cousin, I call him my cousin, he's not really my cousin, just kind of an extended family member. But he was a big time collector back in the day and has actually since gotten back into cards again. But when I was little, he gave me a box of Blackhawks cards for Christmas one year. And this was probably like 2003 or 2004, probably one of those 2 years. I don't think it would have been any more recent than that. But he gave me this box of cards. It was probably one of those, it was a white box. There's probably, I don't know, like a 250 count box, something like that. One of the smaller ones, not a 5 row or anything like that, but a decent sized box, especially, if you're a little kid and it's just full of Blackhawks cards. That was the coolest thing, right? So he gives me that. And then there was one individual card that he gave me as well. And that was a 2001-02 Topps Archives autograph short print, by the way, of Tony Esposito, which I still have to this day and will certainly never, ever move that card. They are pretty tough to find. I know there's been a few that have sold recently, but yeah, for the longest time, I think I'd only seen like 2 or 3 of them over the years. So they're pretty tough cards. But yeah, that was like my first ever kind of like more valuable card. And for those of you who might not be familiar with the product or that card, Topps made a product back in the day that brought back some of those iconic cards and iconic card designs. And then they also had some of those cards then had an autograph version as well. So for Tony, his design in the set is his rookie card design, which is a pretty iconic design from the 69-70 Topps and OPG. So that's just a cool hobby memory that I have. And then of course, I don't know if I've referenced this too many times. I think I have mentioned it on the podcast before, but Tony actually kind of holds a special place in my family's heart as well, as he was the Blackhawks starting goalie when my dad was the team's strength and conditioning coach in the early 80s. So as such, my dad and Tony were pretty good friends, both, quote unquote, on and off the ice. My dad did go on the ice every now and then, but not super often. But yeah, I mean, they definitely became good friends. And, Tony was really good about getting to know everyone that he could and treating people as well as he could. And I know my dad cherished the opportunity to work with, a guy that's truly a legend like how Tony was. And I know my parents got married in the early 80s, and Tony even gave them a pretty nice wedding gift, even though he wasn't able to attend their wedding. So, kind of just goes to show a little bit of their friendship and, how personable Tony was as well off the ice. So I know, kind of like Aaron mentioned, the news of Tony's passing was hard for a lot of people, my dad especially. So in light of Tony's passing, I kind of wanted to see what cards were out there, see if I could pick up something pretty nice for my collection. I do have some other pretty nice Esposito cards, like Aaron alluded to, and did show off some of those on our social media at the time, including that Topps Archives autograph I mentioned. I have the Cup scripted sticks, as well as a Trophy Winners dual memorabilia from the Vezina collection. So obviously that has Esposito memorabilia as well as a Vezina pad piece as well. But yeah, I just wanted to, find something nice and, kind of honor him in that way. So after some searching on eBay and check out my cards and other places, I just wasn't really finding anything that, really was just like, yeah, that's the card. So I eventually wandered to Dr. Price's website to see what President's Choice had. And I was just looking through. And when I saw this card, I knew that this was the card and gladly snatched it up for my collection. Fittingly, I'd kind of always been interested in this set ever since Dr. Price started making these cards. I think maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago, pretty recent, but a pretty innovative set, I would say, and just a really intriguing set as well. So I really wanted to pick up one of those cards eventually, whenever it made sense. So being able to get a card from that set for my collection was a nice way to kill a second bird with the same stone as well. And also fittingly, the card actually arrived earlier today as of when we're recording this. So I just got the card, could not be happier with it. Aaron does not know what it is. So I will show it to Aaron so he can see, and I will also throw up a scan of it as well so that you guys can see it at the same time that Aaron does. So of course it's a President's Choice, and it's a 1/1 equipped card.
Hey, that's awesome. I had another set in mind, but I forget what the set was called, but it was just the one with the stick piece.
Okay.
I don't know if Espo was in that set specifically, but yeah, very similar card, except this one's obviously very better, much better. And that's awesome. That's a really, really cool card. That jersey piece, it's part of like the feather, I believe.
Yep.
Of the Blackhawks jersey there. That's awesome. That's such a cool card.
Yeah, I just think that the concept of the card, having 4 different memorabilia pieces, but then also just that ginormous stick piece just makes them really pop. just super cool cards. And of course, Dr. Price does awesome work on all of these cards as usual. So just was super glad that that card was available and that I could swing buying it. And it came very quickly. I mean, as of when we're recording this, this wasn't even a week ago. So very, very quick turnaround time from Dr. Price, which is awesome. And certainly will be a card that I cherish for many, many years to come. Switching gears a little bit, we wanted to make note of a pretty historic card sale that happened recently. So Aaron, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. We just posted this on social media not too long ago. So for those who are connected with us on there, will be no surprise to this card that we mention. But it is the iconic Honus, Jonas Wagner card that the card, the T206 baseball card that was up for sale on Robert Edward Auctions. It was a grade 3 by SGC, 26 bids, and it just sold for 5.5 million US dollars. But when you add the buyer's premium in, it comes out to a total of 6.6 million US dollars, which is insane. Just unbelievable. It is officially the highest card ever sold, ever in any sport. That just surpassed the 5.2 million Mickey Mantle PSA 9 that sold back in January. So, I mean, it's a crazy price, 6.6 million, but honestly, like, I'm not going to say it's low or high. I mean, obviously, like, this card demands whatever it demands. There's no really, market for something like this. It's sort of like that's the selling price right now, and that's what it is. But I think it's only a matter of time. I'm not sure if we'll see it this year or next year, but it's only a matter of time. And it could be this very card, because usually with big cards like these, they'll get resold and resold, and they're always going to go up. We might see maybe this year, maybe next year, or maybe in 5-10 years from now, but maybe this card itself could be maybe our first $10 million card. And I wouldn't be that surprised if it's this very card, the SGC 3 for the Honus Wagner. I mean, just an amazing sale. When I heard about it, I wasn't surprised, but I was kind of surprised with the timing, because we've seen a bunch of crazy sales like the Mantle we just mentioned. But the fact that these cards are being sold for record high prices, but then being quickly resold, we saw that with the Gretzky as well. It's just sort of very interesting to me. I mean, it seems like that in the past there was limited buyers for this, but now I think there's more. Not investors. I generally think if you're spending this much money on a card, there has to be, I guess, a kid in you that really enjoys it. But there's a lot more millionaires kind of stepping up at the table and wanting to get a piece of, the sports card market. And that's why we're seeing, one, these record sales, and two, the continuous, breaking of records, or cards being sold like the Gretzky, and then a couple of months later, breaking another record, selling again. So I'm not sure if the Wagner will be sold anytime soon, maybe another copy. But 6.6 million is ridiculous. I mean, I'm just going to go see what that is in Canadian dollars really, really quickly. 8.3 million Canadian, which is, I mean, very close to $10 million for sure. So, I mean, that's just unbelievable. $8.3 million Canadian. Obviously, we're not sure who bought the card or where they reside, but, whichever exchange rate you want to use, that's a ridiculous amount of coin right there. So, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned, comparing it potentially in the future to the Gretzky situation. I mean, you look back at the first one, the one of the PSA 10 Gretzky's sold. When was that? November, December, January, even something like that.
We talked about it, yeah, like something like that.
Yeah, sometime in the winter, sold for 1.2 million US, and then fast forward to earlier this summer, and it wasn't the same copy. It was the other PSA 10. So the other one then sold for 3.75 million. So, I mean, 3 times the cost. Now, is a Wagner, whether it be in this same condition or potentially even nicer, or maybe not even as nice, going to just randomly sell for $18 million? Well, no, probably not. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, like you said, the 6.6 million, I saw that and I was like, yeah, like I get that. That makes sense.
Like, I could see it. Yeah, same.
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely think there's still room for growth on the card like that. Not that I'm an expert on the card by any means, but from my understanding and just a little bit of research I did on it earlier today, it seems like that's a fairly decent copy. It's not like there's PSA 9s and 10s floating out there.
I
So,
want to say there's a 5, but I could be wrong.
okay. So, yeah, I mean, there's, it's up there. I mean, a lot of them are more in that, 1 or 2 range. So seeing even a 3, and I would say even that's a pretty nice looking 3. Like it's a pretty clean card. I mean, the corners are obviously very rounded and stuff, but generally speaking, for a 3, it's a pretty nice 3. So, and with any vintage card, that eye appeal of the card really does factor into the value quite a bit. So I'm sure that also played a factor as well to some extent. But yeah, I mean, just super cool. Obviously it's not a hockey card. We understand that, but it's sports card history. So
Gotta mention it.
yeah, got to mention it. Super, super cool. So kind of speaking of old rookie cards, while we're on the topic, Aaron, you wanted to share with everyone about a huge card that you recently acquired for your collection. So I know that this has been, something, I mean, this happened, what, like a month ago. So, I mean, you've had the card for a while and you really haven't told anyone or showed anyone. I know what it is, but pretty much no one else does. So now is finally the time to spill the beans.
Yeah, I was forbade to show anyone, and share it for this podcast. Thank you so much. It took every fiber of my being to just hold on to this card and not tell anyone. But yeah, so it's not a honest Honus Jonas Wagner card, but it's kind of close. It's a vintage card, and yes, it does fall into the hockey category. But I picked up a 1979. 80 OPG Wayne Gretzky rookie card. It's graded a PSA 1, which that's awesome. I don't care. And yeah, it's my first and only Wayne Gretzky rookie card. I mean, obviously, when you get to know me as a collector and what I collect and my history in collecting, pretty much collecting, zeros. I mean, well, I collected Brodeur and Belfour, so not zeros, but in terms of high-end cards and stuff, it's not my bag, But for me, just picking up this kind of card is just awesome, and it's something that I really kind of had to do at this time. With the recent, flux of pricing that we've seen for all cards, but obviously with Gretzky's, it's just unbelievable. Eh, and I both mentioned these historic Gretzky sales over the past year and a bit, and so that kind of falls down. With these types of cards, like there is that trickle down effect where if this card sells for 1 point whatever million and then 3 point whatever million, there's a lot of demand for these lower graded cards. I mean, obviously not as much, and the values are quite different between a 1 and a 10, but still, I mean, just the demand for these cards are crazy. And so like I just decided, what, if now is the time to get a Gretzky rookie, then that's fine by me. And so again, it's not the greatest copy in the world. I've seen worse ones. I mean, obviously ones are going to fluctuate like crazy. They're going to go from, this uncentered copy to this one that was literally bitten in half, but I think for ones, it's pretty solid. It's kind of off centered a little bit to one side. And of course on the bottom there as well. But it's a pretty clean copy overall. The face of the card, but when I mean face, I mean the actual picture of Gretzky is very clean. The corners are a little bit folded, all 4 corners, but they are pointed. They're not super rounded like we can see with these old cards. The face, like I said, as far as the picture, has no creases in it. The back has a little bit of decoloration, which I think is why it was given a 1, because overall, again, when I looked at PSA 1s, a lot of the creases did affect the main picture, whereas this one did not. And so overall, yeah, it's a 1, but it's a pretty clean 1. And so, yeah, I don't mind that at all. It definitely kept the cost down for sure. If the color wasn't affected on the back, then I think it would have graded probably maybe a 1.52. And so I think, although it's a Gretzky and you do pay a significant amount, I think I did get a pretty fair deal. I've seen some ones that are in worse condition consistently go for more, hundreds of dollars more. over $1,000, 1.1, 2, even 3 I've seen. So to get the card for the price I paid was just awesome. I made a deal on Twitter with a guy named Alex, I believe his name was, made an in-person deal, which I haven't done in so long. And so thank you, Alex, for not stabbing me in the parking lot. That was awesome. I know he's a fan of the podcast, so I'll give him a little shout out there. So yeah, really good deal. I know that he recently got a really good deal on these Gretzkys, actually. So he definitely turned around and sold them at market value, or a little bit under market value, to be honest, but definitely gave me a very fair price, which is all you can ask when dealing with a guy like Alex. I know he trades and sells a lot of cards. Definitely a really, really smooth deal. If anyone wants to deal with him, just give me a shout out on Twitter, and I'll definitely point you in his direction. But overall, just a great deal, great card, and yeah, it's one of those cards that you just know it. The color. It's a Gretzky rookie. It's great. I'm not really a big rookie card collector. When I look at my collection, I have Ovechkin's, Crosby's, but it's the victory versions. But that's fine by me because it's still a rookie card. But with Gretzky, it's like you only get one kind of rookie card. I mean, there's two, but they both look the same. So it's like there's one rookie card, and you got to get it. So it's just a really cool card, and yeah, I really enjoy it. It's going to be one of those ones that I hang on to for a long, long time. It's a Gretzky. He's the great one. So amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't believe when you told me about it, because
you thought I was like joking with you because I never pulled the trigger on this stuff. But, when it came to Gretzky, I was like, oh man, I think I'm getting Gretzky. And he's like, and then Eric, you were like, no, you're not going to do it. And I'm like, kind of thinking about it. Like there's this guy and the price is not bad and the card looks good. So I think I might. And he's like, you won't. And I'm like, I think I will. And then, the next day or whatever it was, I sent you a picture. Hey, look what I got.
Yeah, I mean, it correct me if I'm wrong, but it did seem like it was kind of just like an impulse buy in a way. I mean, obviously you thought about it, but like you weren't actively looking to buy a Gretzky rookie card.
Not really. I mean, like I with COVID and everything, I did look at the Gretzky prices over the past year and a bit, and I've tracked them a little bit, just to see if I were to pay for one, what would that be? And they were always consistently over like 1,000 and stuff like that. Obviously depending on what type you wanted and condition and things like that. And so it was always a little bit too rich for my blood. And so, the price that I paid for this was like, okay, wow, like that seems really fair. I might just have to. And I'm not like a high-end collector or anything like that. I just collect for fun. So, a purchase at this level was like easily the most expensive card I'll ever buy. And so it's definitely a commitment in that sense. But I mean, I still got a good deal. If I wanted to sell it tomorrow, I could, and make some money off it. But it's not about that. It's just about having this cool card. And it's a Gretzky, so you're not going to be paying it cheap, especially right now. So it was just a really cool card. And yeah, I'm not going to transition to high end or anything like that or vintage, but it's one of those ones where, you kind of have to, at least see if you can make a deal work for one.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember in the early days of you having it, sometimes we'd be texting and you'd just be like, I can't believe I have this thing. Like, this is just, it's so cool.
It's like a piece of history too.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, now that we're a month or so later, like, does that like wow factor and amazement with it, like you still feel that every day when you look at it?
Oh yeah. It's right here on my desk. So I definitely look at it, enjoy it every day. And when we were talking about the, Honest Wagner card and we did mention the Gretzky's. I mean, in a small weird way, you kind of own a piece of that, huge sale with getting a Gretzky card. Not obviously that card itself, but you own one of the cards that came from that run, like that year. So in some small weird way, you own a card that in slightly better condition is worth a couple $1 million, and obviously it's not this, but it's as close as I'm going to get to owning, those kinds of cards, So in that sense, it's really cool too, to point to that card and say, hey, a 10 in this is worth like millions of dollars. And so this is kind of like my gateway into those types of cards, which people just don't own.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you even just think about a PSA 10 Gretzky or this, the Wagner card, and it's just like, to us normal folks, like that's an unfathomable card to own. So yeah, I think that is a cool aspect of it that you noted there of, yeah, I mean, you look at, obviously now they're very different in terms of value, in terms of condition, all that. But when they were printed, it was the same thing. I mean, for all we know, your Gretzky could have been the next sheet cut as the PSA. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I mean, it could have, touched this card. You never really know.
so yeah,
You never know.
it's interesting. One thing that obviously a lot of people know about the Gretzky and are curious about, does your copy have the two blue lines on the back?
Actually, it does, and I figured this out actually after I bought it. I mean, like I knew of the first print lines before I bought the Gretzky. It's very attached to the card as far as general attributes, or when people are discussing Gretzky rookies, things to look for, things like that. So I did know that the blue lines existed, but I wasn't even thinking about that when I bought it, or it wasn't noted with the card. And so I, a week after I got the card, or a couple days after, I went back to check, and I'm like, oh wait, yeah, it does have the the double lines on the back. And so that kind of, it's up for debate with some people, but those two lines on the back signified that this was, albeit a large print run, but it was, a first print Gretzky where they printed these cards. Notice these lines on the back. They fixed it. They fixed the, I guess, mechanism that was causing this, or whatever it was. And they started to print more Gretzkys after that were, without this blemish. And so if you get a Gretzky with these two lines on the back of the card, they're very, very faint. You have some Gretzkys that was the first ever run of Gretzkys, which is really cool. And so I don't know if the print runs are any different. I mean, some people might say that the first prints are, rarer, although they are, pretty available. But I mean, hey, I'll take a little bit of a rare Gretzky card any day. And plus it is an OPG, which was the Canadian release, and are a little bit rarer also. So, I mean, it's a Gretzky card, a lot are printed. And so if you can sort of differentiate a little bit and make it that much more rarer, or a little bit more, sought after, then that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I guess we don't really know which one's more plentiful, but I think it's pretty well established at this point that the copies that do have the blue lines on the back are at the very least more desirable. So
Yeah, I mean, like I've heard it described as almost like an error card in a way that was corrected, and then those other cards that don't have the lines were the the cleaner copies that they wanted to really pump out and produce after this mistake was realized. And so it's kind of funny how those original decisions were made, but in the future those copies, those error ones, are kind of more desirable, which is kind of funny.
yeah, it even makes me wonder, one modern day card that immediately comes to mind for that, is the Nathan McKinnon Young Gun with the printing error where it has pink on his shoulder.
The modern day equivalent, yes.
Yeah, so that kind of makes you wonder, 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, are we going to be saying, oh man, I mean, we already are saying, is this McKinnon pink or not pink? But, as of right now, the no pink, corrected version is the more desirable, more valuable copy. Not by a massive amount, but there is a little bit of a noticeable gap there. So yeah, it is interesting to think, the pink one is, the first print. So, down the road, are we going to see, the demand for the pink one either catch or even surpass the corrected one? That's just an interesting thing to note. So yeah, very cool. You beat me to getting a Gretzky rookie card. I've been trying over the last few months, but haven't really made much headway on that front.
I
But
thought you were going to pick one up during, the national. Like I know I didn't want to strong arm you into a purchase, but I really thought you were going to get one, with, it being the first show and Gretzky's being everywhere. I thought you were going to pick up a copy, but at the same time, I know you are looking for a very particular copy as well. So I do understand, with, a certain grade in mind, that it does take some time to find that card at, a price that someone's comfortable paying. So, I totally respect that. But yeah, I mean, it would have been kind of cool to have, both are Gretzky's here, but I mean, hey, you know, it is what it is. I'm sure you'll show yours off eventually on this podcast, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. Whenever I get one, I'll certainly have a similar themed episode like this about it. But yeah, I mean, I certainly tried to get one at the National. There was certainly no shortage of them. I mean, between OPG and Tops, I mean, there were easily triple digits for sure. But even just the OPG, there were probably close to 100 that I saw, if not more. I mean, there were a ton of Gretzky rookie cards at the show, and there were certainly, you know, some that I thought about, but you know, whether it be the price wasn't right, or you know, the person was only selling, you know, and I really would need to be trading or primarily trading for one, you know, and then combined with kind of the attributes that I'm looking for with the card, you know, the right copy just wasn't there for me. So
what kind of card, like just for the listeners, what kind of card are you looking for when it comes to a Gretzky rookie, just in case maybe someone could help you out?
yeah, I mean, I would say probably either a PSA 4 or 5. It would kind of just depend on the copy. I mean, I think everyone would probably realize that there are some PSA 4s that just have a better eye appeal than a PSA 5, or even might be in better condition than a PSA 5. You know, but something generally in that range. I mean, I could probably be talked into a really nice 3, but probably looking more at a 4, if not a 5, if I could afford to do that. Definitely want the blue lines on the back. One thing that's fairly notable with them in terms of the eye appeal, and I'm not sure, I think yours is slightly off center with this component, but the oil drop on the Oilers logo in the bottom right, a lot of the time that oil drop is miscentered within the Oilers logo.
It's actually not bad. Like it's not perfect, but it's not bad.
No, that's pretty good. It's slightly high, but yeah, that's
but
left
it's
to
not
right.
too bad.
It's left to right. That's pretty good.
Right.
So that's definitely something I'm looking for. I mean, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but I'd like it to be pretty close. The registration, meaning just how sharp the, you know, the picture on the card is, that's really important to me. I know you said that your registration is really sharp and clear, which is great. Also, you know, kind of along with that, sometimes the black printing plate could get shifted a little bit. And when you're looking at, you know, the design on the edges of the card, where that white kind of swirl on the top and right side is, if the black plate is shifted a little bit, sometimes those black border lines can get, you know, off-centered from the rest of the white design. So that's something I'm looking at. You know, of course, I would love to have the, you know, noticeable wire cut edges, you know, which just some people, you know, they're like, oh, like that's damage, you know, it's a really bad cut job. I mean, yes, that's true, but that's just such a, you know, a distinguishing component of those cards specifically. I mean, any card in that era, but especially those 79, 80 cards, you know, as they would cut more and more and more of the sheets, the wires that they used to cut the sheets would get dull. So then the card edges would kind of get a little bit jagged. So to me, that's kind of like a cool, unique feature that I would really like. You know, not that if everything else checked out, I would pass on it just because it had sharp edges, but I just think that would be a really neat feature to have on my copy, you know, just kind of a sign of the times for that card. Yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably the main things. I mean, I would like it to be a fairly clean copy as well. Again, factoring in it's going to be a PSA 4 or 5. You know, I'm not expecting for it to be a perfect card. But yeah, just a generally clean card that has those characteristics. So I know that's kind of, you know, a fairly extensive list of things to be looking for, and I am going to be picky about it. You know, like you kind of mentioned, Aaron, I certainly could have just picked something up just for the sake of picking something up. I mean, I could have gotten a PSA 1 or a PSA 2, probably even could have gotten a PSA 3 when I was there. But yeah, and there were even there was one or two where I was like, yeah, I might try to get this, and then was just like, no, like I want to be picky about this. So yeah, we'll see. It'll come one day.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially with a Gretzky, like you can afford to be picky. I mean, yeah, it's Gretzky, but there's tons of cards out there, and you know, there's tons of cards always being discovered. Like, how often does someone post on, you know, Facebook or forums or something? You know, like I found this Gretzky. Like, what should I do with it? There's tons of Gretzky's being discovered, and who knows how many are still being graded right now. that are going to hit the market as soon as they come back. I mean, there's always new Gretzky's being posted. So if you're someone like Eric who, wants to be a little bit picky with the attributes on the card or with a certain grade or even price point that comes along, feel free to be a little bit picky, because there's so many cards out there when it comes to the Gretzky Rookie. Even if you want to go for the tops version that some people might prefer because it's a little bit brighter or something like that. Again, there's so many options when you talk about Gretzky's rookie card. So yeah, I mean, feel free to just, be picky and find the one you like. And it's going to be cool. I mean, for me, I enjoy my PSA 1. I'm biased because I own it, but it's great. It's definitely not the worst Gretzky in the world, but it's a clean copy, as far as the face of it goes. And yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with it. So, I mean, yeah, it's fun. So don't expect me to pick up any more high-end cards or any vintage cards, in the next little while, but definitely a iconic card for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was really glad to see that you got that card. It's a super awesome story, of how you got it and how it came to be and how it happened and stuff. And obviously an amazing card, regardless of the grade or anything like that. It's a great card and it's an iconic card. So, definitely awesome that you got that card for your collection. Speaking of the National a little bit, obviously episode 39 was all about the National, but I kind of meant to do this during that episode last time, but just forgot. So better late than never. We will be doing a giveaway with 2 prizes via social media, similar to our contest from the Upper Deck Breaks we did a few months ago, actually, giving away some stuff that I was able to get at the National just for free. So I wanted to share that with you guys and pass it along. So the 2 prizes that we'll be giving away, and these are in no particular order, we'll do it similar to the last one where we will pick the winners, and then whoever is first gets their pick of the prizes, and then the second person gets what's left. So the 2 prizes that will be given away first are 2 sealed packs of 2021 Upper Deck National Hockey Card Day. Those were just being given away by select retailers. Whenever you'd make a purchase, they give you a couple packs of cards. And then similarly, actually the same thing, but the second prize will be a special Alexis Lafreniere National Hockey Card Day bonus card. Again, that was given out at the National. Whenever you would make a purchase through a participating retailer, they would give you a pack of the cards and one of the Lafreniere cards. So those Lafreniere cards themselves actually cannot be found within the packs. So you could only get them by making a purchase through participating retailers around, National Hockey Card Day. It was not just at the National. So if you went to, a participating LCS or something, they might have had them as well. But yeah, it's important to note that they are not in the packs. There are other Lafreniere cards in the packs, but not these ones. So just to make that differentiation. So those are the 2 prizes. So keep an eye out on our social media. We'll be posting that up soon, and we will pick those 2 winners in either episode 41 or 42. Not quite sure yet, but just keep an eye out for that and be sure to enter. It'll just be something pretty easy like last time. We'll probably just do like follow us, retweet, and then maybe let's do what was your favorite part of episode 39. So keep it nice and short, simple, and just let us know, what you liked. And tag a few friends too, because then that gets more people involved in the process too. It's not as fun to pick a winner when there's only, a handful or, 5 or 10 people that are entered in the contest. So if you tag, 3 people, that gets more people entered into the contest too. So it's just something, that more people can be a part of and enjoy. So just to make note of that. So I think that's really all I have. Is there anything else that you would want to add for this episode, Erin?
Not really. I mean, I think I talked about everything that I want to talk about. That contest sounds awesome, though. Maybe we'll do something on Instagram too. I'm not sure if we had that last time, but that sounds cool. I always love when tons of collectors join in. It's always really cool. So that'll be fun. However we decide to do that, it's going to be really fun. So that's all I got. It's good to be back. It's good to be back.
Good to have you back. Yeah, it was fun doing kind of a. I mean, it wasn't really a solo episode. Obviously, Tucker, chipped in a little bit, but yeah, nice to have you back. And yeah, I'm sure we can figure out some type of Instagram sort of way of, factoring that into the contest as well. So keep an eye out for that. We will get around to that very soon, if we have not already by the time you're listening to this. So that will do it for episode 40. So with that, please be sure to follow us on social media. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Sunrise Cardcast, and on Twitter at SunriseCC. Please also be sure to subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice to make sure you never miss a future episode. Until next time on Sunrise Cardcast, keep collecting those hockey cards.